There are two learning intentions for this video. The first learning intention is to explain the voyages of Jacques Cartier, and the success criteria that goes along with that is that I can explain the time period, the purposes, and the effects of Jacques Cartier's voyages. The second learning intention is to judge the success of the settlement at Cap Rouge, and the success criteria is that I can judge the success of the settlement at Cap Rouge. All right. Before his voyages on behalf of the King of France, it's certain that Jacques Cartier had already traveled to the New World. When he got his commission by the king, he was supported by the Bishop of Saint-Malo, where he was from, who stated that he had already had experience by traveling to Brazil and Newfoundland. And when Jacques Cartier undertook his first voyage, he sailed directly to the Strait of Belle Isle in Newfoundland, indicating that he probably had already gone. So, in the order from the king for the reasons for his first voyage, it was to quote, "to discover certain islands and lands where it is said that a great quantity of gold and other precious things are to be found." Now, along with this, Cartier was also trying to find a new route to Asia. So, his first voyage began in April of 1534. He set sail for the New World. Along the way, after reaching Newfoundland, his crossing was fairly short, only about 20 days at this time. He explored, he met native people, and he did some small-scale trading. In July, he arrived in Gaspé, and he stayed there for almost 2 weeks. Now, in Gaspé, he met some St. Lawrence Iroquois who had established a summer fishing camp there. So even though the Iroquois were sedentary, this particular group did move in the summer for a fishing camp. He established an alliance with these people who had come from a village called Stadacona, which is where Quebec City is today. But then Cartier, on the 24th of July, erected a cross and claimed the land formally for the King of France. This angered his new allies. Their chief, whose name was Donnacona, tried to approach Cartier's boat, but the French seized him and took 2 of his sons. Now, they eventually kind of diffused the situation, but his 2 sons returned to France with Jacques Cartier. Now, Jacques Cartier's second voyage was the following year, in 1535. He had 3 ships and about 110 men. He explored the St. Lawrence and he went up the river. He arrived this time at the village of Stadacona, which was where the chief, Donnacona, was from. He wanted to continue on to reach another village called Hochelaga, which is where Montreal is today. However, Donnacona didn't want the French to go further. In fact, he wanted to control the fur trade himself, and he wanted to escape the power of Hochelaga, who kind of ruled the St. Lawrence Valley. However, Cartier went on against the objections of Donnacona. He went to Hochelaga, where he was received well, but he didn't stay for long. He realized he couldn't get much further. So Cartier went back, and his men were building a fort at this time, and relations with the Stadaconan Iroquois had gone sour. So that winter, Cartier stayed, but it was a harsh winter, and both the French and the Iroquois were hit by scurvy, although the Iroquois knew a cure using white cedar, and they eventually told this to Cartier. However, a number of Cartier's men had died. The next spring, Cartier seized Donnacona and his sons and brought them back to France. And Cartier's hope was that another, more favorable chief to him would then emerge. Cartier made a third and final voyage to the New World. However, he wasn't in control of the expedition. The expedition was under the control of a man named Roberval. And Roberval was placed in command and was ordered to establish a colony. Cartier set sail at first in 1541, and he arrived to Stonnacona, and then he established a settlement at a place called Cap de Diamant, or Cap Rouge, and he called this settlement Cherbourg Royal. It was a place that seemed to be full of diamond and golds. Cartier went back to Hochelaga, but didn't go any further. That winter, he stayed the winter again. The French may have been under siege by the Iroquois, but the accounts of this part of Cartier's voyage aren't complete, so we don't actually know what happened. However, in the next year, in 1542, Cartier quickly packed up a ship, including a large amount of what he thought were gold and diamonds, and he actually met Roberval's expedition off the coast of Newfoundland. Roberval ordered him to return with him because he had the most knowledge of where they were going and already had relations with the Iroquois. However, Cartier refused, and then under the cover of night slipped away and tried to return to France. Roberval continued to Cherbourg Royal, renamed the colony Francois, and he attempted to explore down to Hochelaga and get past the Lachine Rapids to get into further down the St. Lawrence River, but couldn't. He attempted to go up the Saguenay River to the mythical kingdom of the Saguenay, where there was supposedly a lot of copper, but he couldn't get there either. The colony wasn't a success. A rescue mission had to be launched in 1543, and all the French were evacuated. There are a number of reasons for this failure. One is that Cartier left. He had had some relations with the Iroquois, although they had gotten worse as time had gone on. Oh, and by the way, those diamonds and gold, they were fake. It was just quartz and fool's gold. Roberval himself was a harsh man, and most of his quote-unquote colonists were, in fact, a bunch of criminals. He literally took them out of jail. So it wasn't a success, and it would be almost another 50 years before the French would try to settle again. Well, thanks for watching. I want you to consider the following essential question. Was Jacques Cartier a successful colonizer?